Where's our audio from? What's that coming from, Kang? Did you dial into the virtual meeting?
No, I didn't. Or just mute me then. It's-
Is that maybe from the first call that you did to the still on hold?
No, that I
Yeah, remember you called him the queue?
Which plays that music during
Going
the
into
day.
the queue.
Right.
Did you?
Likes it.
Is that your Pandora?
Yeah.
It's not nice. Josh.
Streams it.
Like,
Oh, that is
where-
me.
Yeah, you're dialed
God,
in.
6. All right.
Are you
I don't
sure?
know how I dialed in.
Did you
but
connect to the web browser on accident?
I might have. Here, I can disconnect it. It's fine.
It's cute.
All
Did
right.
everybody end up going to the 11 o'clock demonstration today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who gave that?
Josh.
Block.
Josh.
No, Mike.
Boston guy.
Baston guy?
Mike
John
McConnell.
McMorrow?
Yeah, that's it.
McMorrow.
the
Okay. How did that go?
He said something.
New England,
Vanilla.
New England sports teams.
Yeah, vanilla.
Yeah.
Vanilla. It's my vanilla IVR.
Interesting.
You gotta get your cat.
He needs to
space.
learn how to mute. He
Yeah.
kept coughing
Yeah, he had
into the
a
phone.
coffee.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
That's nice.
like, there's a mute button on your phone.
Like when I start typing, you get mad. Who's typing?
Not recommended.
Like, oops, sorry.
Okay.
I don't recommend it.
I haven't actually seen him give a demonstration. That's why I asked.
No,
Um,
he's slower. It's slow. It's
Suggested that
slow.
Bria didn't.
He's at a slow pace.
okay.
But he
You just have to speak in mute, John, because we all
Because they're
know.
selling just the call centers usually, which those you got phone. They don't want customers.
He went through. They go through a slide deck too, though, right? Like a condensed version of the slide and then into the product. Okay. So I'm sorry that a lot of this is probably going to be recap for you since you did that today, but.
But don't gloss over
Now you're about to see the real deal.
it. Go ahead.
This credit card
The
getting
more
pulled
we
out.
see it, the more it is for us.
But this is, yeah, I'll give a detailed demo, and you're not supposed to have to give this level of detail in a demonstration. But I think it's important for you to know what's capable and what's there. So before I give a demo, I am real particular about what it looks like. Right down to the size of my wallpaper. It's not a coincidence that it says 8x8 Powering Conversations behind next to my app the whole time. I clean up my browser. I have nothing else open. I have no plugins. I don't have any pop-ups. You'll notice I got rid of my menu bars. I got rid of my taskbars. I want the prospect to just see the app. I want the app to be on display. I don't want all the noise. All my windows are pre-sized.
His emails kept popping up.
Yeah, I want it clean. I want you to only see the app in 8x8 when you're going through a demonstration with me. So I'm real particular about that setup. I'm not saying you have to be, but I'd recommend it. I think it's easier to learn that way rather than people switching between windows and windows overlapping other windows and that type of thing. So that's my pre-routine, but getting started, I break it down into two sections. So I'll tell a prospect there's two primary things you're looking at here. There's the majority of this browser space, which is comprised of our completely optional and lightweight contact and case management tool. Now, typically I know going into the demonstration, is this important to them? Is this something we need to cover? Even if we're not going to cover it, I'll give them the basics. I'll say, okay, our lightweight CRM is broken into 4 primary object types. Customer information, so those are your contacts or your customer related info. Cases associated with those customers, and I'll let them know cases can be tickets, they can be emails, they can be things like that. Follow-ups to those cases. Those follow-ups can be responses to emails, they can be case resolutions, ticket closures, and then the concept of a task, right? That's the 4th and final object. The task can be a completed task, or excuse me, a completed activity, or a future task with a reminder. And then I'll let them know that all the black text they see here, this is kind of default fields and attributes, but that they can create their own custom fields and attributes. And those fields can contain whatever data elements they want. They can be free text, they can be drop downs, they can be pick list, integers, all those options. I'll let them know every field is searchable and every field's reportable. So that's the quick, hey, that's the 30 seconds of what our lightweight contact and case management is. If that's not something that they're interested in, at least they know we have it and I move on. If it is something they're interested in, then I'll note that and tell them, okay, I'm gonna show you more of the detail in the contact and case management portion as we start to accept interactions, as we give you examples of agents taking calls and taking transactions. And then I like to get it out of the way. I let them know this is the core of our application. Right? This is what agents are going to use to manage all the different interactions types. And the first thing I want to do is I want to walk them through this top to bottom so they know what they're looking at. And I'll tell them that. So let's start at the top. Right? At the very top, we manage presence intelligently. Right, so I let them know I'm in an offline state. There's a real-time timer here. It's important to let them know we track this in real time. We mine all this, we make this data available historically so they can mine all this data in the historical reports. I'll tell them what the high-level states are. You can be available to take calls. You can take a break. That's designed to step away from your workstation so that application will actually gray you out. And of course, you can log out. And then I'll let them know, in addition to these high-level states, you can build in more granular reasons into why your agents are doing anything. So, if I'm going to take a break, is it personal? Is it lunch break? And you've all seen Kang and everybody else do this, right? If I'm going to log out, is my shift over? Do I have off-site work to do? And I'll let them know they can granularly track reasons why their agents change their state or reject any activity. So, presence management at the top. And then the initial view is our primary status tab. So this is real-time visibility into all the different skill groups and queues that agents have been assigned and enabled in. And I'll let them know that it's broken up by media type. And I'll scroll through, right? I'll let them know they can interact with this window. They can collapse the media types they don't want to see. They can sort by these small headers across the top. So for every single skill, they're going to know how many people are busy, which essentially means how many visitors are connected with live agents. They're going to know how many people are waiting and what the longest wait time is for each respective skill. So that's window 1. Right, window 2 down here is real-time visibility into other agents they've been grouped with. So the purpose of my demonstration, I have 2 groups. I have a sales group, I have a support group. And a lot of times I'll name the groups after the name of the prospect when I'm demonstrating so they can start to see their name throughout portions of the UI. You can see I'm the only agent logged in here, but if there were other agents logged in, I'd see their status, I know how long they've been in that status, and I tell them, presumably they can make intelligent decisions now around who's on the phone, who's watching the queue, can I conference somebody in, can I transfer to them, and this is all independent of wherever they may be located globally. Right? So that's our console. Right? I'll let them know if you look at the tabs here, running horizontally, as I click through these tabs, you're going to see the UI change slightly so that as an agent I have the appropriate controls to handle the different types of media. It's all contained here in the same window, and it's a very consistent and intuitive user experience. Those are differentiators for us. Right? Our competitors might have different media types and different UIs and different windows you have to manage, not us. One single application, consistent user experience. Okay, and then I'll let them know, a lot of times I know ahead of time what are the media types we need to cover, but I'll say, hey, I know voice is core to what you want to see here today, so before I get started on the phone side, I'm going to highlight one other area, and I'll get into the profile button. I'll click that. I'll line it up because this isn't important to a first-time demo, and I'll line it up so they just see the options this way. Looks cleaner. It's approachable now. And I'll tell them, I call this a housekeeping tab. And that's because this is where agents manage a lot of their personal preferences and options. So I'll let them know that at the administrative level, you can restrict everything here, so it's only managed by admins, or you can empower your agents to make some of their changes on their own. So one of the things I've empowered my agent to do is dynamically alter the phone they're going to work off of. All that means is I can come in here, click this phone number radio button, put any phone number I want. Desk phone, iPhone, home phone, 8x8 IP phone, what doesn't matter. I can change it in real time, and I never sacrifice functionality. Calls are still tracked, they're still monitored, they're still recorded, etc. That's important to a contact center manager, right? I said, remember when we talked about we can work in environments without dial tone? Here's how I access the soft phone. It has a unique identifier, we call it a URI. I select that, I put that in, I hit save, plug in my USB headset, that's it. Let them know how easy that is. This happens to be my mobile number, so I can answer that phone. Then I'll scroll down and I'll let them know in the bottom right-hand corner here, queue assignments. If you wanted to allow your agents to move themselves in and out of skills, effectively defining the types of calls or the types of chats they can take, you can allow them to do so. If you're in front of a contact center manager, they're going to cringe when they see this. So I let them know, right? Build credibility with them. A lot of contact center managers cringe when I show them this. Keep in mind this is also something you could restrict, in which case only supervisors and admins will be able to move people in and out of skills. Nice thing about this is it can be defined at a per agent level. So if you have a, just a handful of senior or more skilled agents, you want to grant this sort of permission, you can. Okay, I'll save these settings and I'll start on the voice side. And I do a very similar thing to how Kang does. I have a very basic IVR setup, and I'll admit that, right? I'll tell them I have a basic IVR. I'm going to call into it. I'm going to put it on speakerphone so you can hear. You're going to hear press 1 for sales, 2 for support. You'll notice we can collect information from the caller, use that to look them up. We can reach agents directly through virtual extensions as well. Okay, so then I like to call in, and I'll have that number prepared in my call history here. It's called My Demo. I'll put my cell phone on speakerphone. I'll put it up to whatever phone I happen to be working off of.
Calling. If you know your account number, please press 5. For sales, press 1. For technical support, press 2. If you know your party's extension, please dial it now.
So I'm going to press 1. Right? We'll assume it's a sales inquiry. It's going to route me to the sales queue. I let them know we have one agent unavailable. I'm going to hear some queue hold music. In a moment, I'm going to serve up an audio file, letting them know that we'll be with them shortly. So I purposely leave my agent offline because I like to use this moment to mention a couple things. Right? I tell them, I want you to see the call hit the platform. You can see there's a call waiting in the sales phone queue. You can see the timer start to update every 7 to 10 seconds here. I want to point out that they control the caller experience. What do people hear? Right? What are the routing rules? We understand presence, priority, schedules, skill groups, and skill levels. I think it's important to let them know that we understand dynamic-based routing based on real-time conditions in the contact center. So scenarios like, what happens if you don't have any agents available to take the call? What if there were X number of calls in queue? What if the expected wait time was X number of seconds? All these sorts of thresholds can drive a unique caller experience or unique routing rules. And once I've had a chance to cover that, I say, okay, let's make ourselves available. We'll be the only agent available. We'll take this call. A couple things are going to happen here. Audible noise on my PC, flashing red light on the appropriate media type. I can click on that media and I can preview information about this call. What's the caller ID? Do we already recognize it in our local database? What phone number did they dial? What queue did they go in? How long did they wait? All this is available to me before I even answered the phone. I'm going to go ahead and answer the phone. The application's going to know I picked up automatically, and then that's it. Right? I don't have to touch my phone anymore, so it doesn't matter. I don't have to know how to use the device really. Right? Everything is managed through the web app, and it couldn't be simpler. Right? Traditional phone controls are here. I can mute the line. I can put it on hold. I can end the call. I let them know that they have a host of call recording features. You can see here that my agent's empowered to manually pause and resume call recording. But these can be predetermined percentages, anywhere from 0 to 100%. It can vary by skill. It can vary by agent. We can record programmatically. So based on selections made in the IVR, we can turn on or off call recording. You can do things like let people opt out as a caller. Okay? I'll let them know that they maintain visibility to other agents, who's logged in, what's their status. We support blind transfers, warm transfers, conference calls, and we do it all in the cloud. So you don't have to worry about local infrastructure or local capacity anymore. Right? I'll mention we maintain visibility to all the different skill groups and queues. Remember, we press 1 to get to the sales queue. But if this needed to be handled by another department, I know how many callers are waiting. I know what the longest wait time is. It's easy for me to make a selection, hit transfer, and let the ACD automatically redistribute to the next appropriate person. Right? And these types of things are improvements. This sort of ease of use is an improvement for most contact center solutions, especially legacy solutions. This is these are things everyday agents would do.
The same transfer or just
This is a day in the life as an agent. That's correct. I'll go through the options tab the same way Kang does, and I'll let them know that sometimes there are some overlooked functions in here. And I highlight 2. I start by highlighting the audio files. So I let them know your agents have access to a personal audio library, and they can use these audio files wherever appropriate. So if there's something you can standardize, some messaging you always have to say, you can pre-record it once, you can select it, you can hit play, and it'll play for the caller. Right? An easy way to get that out. Maybe it's a legal message, maybe it's a you love some kind. And then I'll let them know that it's pretty common use case for this is for our customers, for their sales group, to pre-record voicemail messages they may leave on phone calls. So if you guys are running campaigns or you're placing outbound calls and you get somebody's voicemail, you select the message you want to leave them, you hit play, you can instantly hang up and move on to your next task. We'll go ahead and lay that voicemail down in the background and then disconnect when it's done playing. And I'll tell the call center manager, nice way to drive some efficiency, nice way to standardize this message. Right? And then, of course, the last thing is dispositioning the call. And I do it the same way Kang does. Right? I let them know that we support multiple lists and multiple categories. I only have one. And then within that category, we can support, you can only select one item. You can have multiple selections, and mine are really cheesy, salesy options. Was this call to request a quote, schedule an appointment? But also point out that you can capture free text notes here. You can grab all my free text notes, anything I'm saying on the call. And then that way, when I run my call detail report, not only am I getting all the details of every interaction, but I can see the notes in that flat file as well. And when you start to use our integrations, we can take all this information, the call duration, the call disposition, any of the notes, and we can automatically pass those to the CRM. So if I'm going to create a Salesforce activity, you can hang up the phone, we'll log the activity, we'll put your notes in there automatically, you're done. All right, and then I'll let them know you can, of course, disposition the call while you're on it or when the call is complete. So then I like to follow a traditional contact center methodology, which is you don't hang up on people. You stay on the phone as an agent until they hang up. So I'll let them know I'm going to hang up as the person that dialed in. The system's going to let me as an agent know they've disconnected, and now I'm in my wrap-up state. Right? And I have my wrap-up state to be a defined 60 seconds. But I'll let them know you control this. Right? You determine how long it is. You can make it manual if you prefer, where the agent selects whenever they're done with the post-call work. And if I'm experiencing heavy call volumes and I don't need this post-processing time, I can hit end post-processing, go right back to an available state, move on to the next transaction early. Okay? So that's the experience of taking a call. That's how I show it. Real easy, real basic. And then I'll move into to outbound voice. Now usually I know, is there campaign options in this deal that we need to discuss? Is web callback in this deal? Is it just manual dial? So I'll talk about manually dialing. Right? I'll let them know there's a couple ways to place outbound calls. You can pull up any record you'd like. You can click on a phone number to initiate a call. If they're going to use the contact and case management tool, this is where I'll get into some of the details of looking at it. Right? I'll let them know that we generated a screen pop based on the caller ID. So now I can view details about this particular caller. We track the revision history so I can see previous edits, when and who made these changes. Right? I can quickly and easily pull up all the outstanding cases associated with this contact. I can click on one to navigate to those cases. What's their history here? What's still open? What's remaining? Right? It's easy to create a new contact. Same thing with the new case. I fill out all the fields. Remember, these are their custom fields and attributes. Okay, so you can spend a lot of time in the contact and case management, but I want to show them some of it here, and then I want to get to the rest of the media types and the more important supervisory stuff, and we can always return to this. So I'll move forward with placing outbound calls. I'll let them know they can manually dial any number you'd like right here in this white space. It will remember your last 20 dials. I can make a selection and I can hit dial. And the same way I can disposition a call that I just took, I can actually tag an outbound call before I place it. So in my example, I have a cross-trained agent. They might place a support call, they might place a sales call. So now not only can I get metrics on the nature of this outbound call, but I can actually use these tags to drive my outbound caller ID. And there are lots of examples you can give here. In this case, if I want to show the sales line on this outbound call, I'll click this. If I want to show the support number, I can click that and dial the call, and now it'll show the support number as my outbound caller ID. That way, if somebody just calls the number that they missed or something that came up on their phone's caller ID, they're still getting into the right area of the contact center. Right? In the mid-market side, we have area codes built into this. So we have phone numbers that correspond with all the major metropolitan areas. So if I'm trying to get a hold of a prospect or I'm prospecting into a region, I can make myself look like I'm calling locally. Increase the chances that somebody would pick up their phone. Right, so there's lots of creative ways to use these dial codes. Okay, and then I'll let them know the caller experience is the same. If I place an outbound call, it actually rings my phone first as the agent. I pick up my phone, it's now ringing the destination. This is and then I'll move into web callback. Web callback is a good segue to talk about voice. We're still on voice, but now we're moving into web interactions. I like to use Amazon.com as kind of a good web callback example. People are familiar with reaching out to Amazon. They don't have phone numbers. You can't call them. They're a web company. You go to their web support and you put in an inquiry. And you can say, and they call you back, right? You can schedule a call back with them, or they can call you back as soon as they have an agent available. Those are all the same types of things we do. Right? And there's an advantage to doing that. It's easier to collect information on somebody on the web typically than it is on an IVR. Right? IVRs are a little more complex. You can also build in web intelligence. Use cookies. They already recognize who is this person. Do you already know them? Do you know their phone number? Do you know their name? All those types of things. And the same way you manage against service levels on an inbound call, you can manage against service levels on a web callback. How many am I getting? When am I getting them? Who's responding to them? What are my response times? How do my SLAs hold up? Right? There's some cost benefits to this as well. Instead of somebody calling and sitting on hold and you paying the toll-free rate, we're doing it virtually. They're virtually in there, and you don't have to worry about telecommunications costs. You can make a case that it helps with customer satisfaction. Nobody likes to sit on the phone and be on hold. If I let you know I need a call, I can do whatever I need to do, and you'll call me back when you actually have somebody ready to talk to me. All right, a lot of advantages to web callback. And I'll give them an example. So I'm going to use a legacy site. I open up my window, fits to my computer perfectly. Right? I don't have to deal with resizing the window. This is all preparation I do before demos. My web page opened up. I can still see the agent console. It looks clean on the desktop. Doesn't look difficult to use. I give them an example of a web form, right? I want to initiate a call back. Well, the contextual site knows me. So this form is going to pre-populate all my information. Oh, it knows this is Josh. It knows my phone number. It knows my company, my email address. I didn't have to do anything. I can say, call me now, in which case the phone will ring. My phone will ring now. Doesn't matter if you have an agent available or not. It'll put me into the queue. I can say, call me when the next agent is available. So I have to wait till someone's available. And of course, you can schedule a callback. We didn't have an option on the contextual site, but schedule a callback. You might say, call me in 4 hours.
Hey Josh, I'm sorry. How did the URL recognize you?
I have a cookie that I've been to this site before.
Okay.
But this is the sort of web intelligence you can do, right? We have customers, they use our real-time API where the link to click on the web callback is dynamic. If they don't have customers, you don't see it. I'm sorry, if they don't have agents available, you don't see the link. When they do have agents available, the link reappears so they can request a callback. So if they schedule a callback, it'll delay the request. So if they say, call me in 4 hours, the system will hold that. And then in 4 hours, we'll put it in an outbound queue and we'll push it to the next available agent. And then I like to give them an example. So, and I tell them it's easy to build. This is all built on web standards, which means you can test it in any browser. So when somebody fills out that form, an HTTP post like this gets sent out. This is the link, right, with a bunch of transaction data gets attached to it. I have this pre-built. So then what I do is I'll take this, oops, and I won't delete it. I'll copy it though, and I'll throw it in a web browser. System will think someone submitted the form. Look at that. Put it in an outbound queue. It's now offering me a web callback. It's saying, okay, we just got a web callback from Big Spender at Contactual because that's the transaction data I put in. I can get a screen pop. I can preview this data, and I can say, yeah, okay, I'm ready to call them. I hit go. It's going to dial me as the agent next. So I got to pick up my cell phone. I'll do that. It's going to know that I picked up. It's now dialing the destination. All right? Every single one of these legs of this call is tracked. What's the post-dial delay? Did the agent reject this call? How long did it sit? All that visibility.
Is it possible for us to create a link like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can take my link, adjust it for your tenant, and just use it.
Great.
And then the process is the same, right? Same agent experience. When I'm done with my call, I can end it, I can disposition it, I can do all the same things. Okay? So now that we've moved into the a web interaction initiating a voice call, let's talk about a web interaction without the phone. So now I'm going to move into chat. Okay? And I'll let them know we provide the URLs. Right? You can embed the chat wherever you'd like. The same way you can have a unique caller experience for different phone numbers, you can have a unique visitor experience for different chat channels, we'll call them. So I have an example. Right? I have a dummy chat page. Right? Here's my sample live chat, and I have some options on it. If it's a support chat, it'll prompt you for a case number, and I can use that to look them up. I can generate a Salesforce screen pop with that. And I'll let them know we can collect your account number, we can collect a case number. However, in my example, if you pick sales chat, it goes right into queue. And so now if we look over here, we're going to have interaction waiting in the sales chat. Let's make sure I'm actually a part of that. Sorry, guys. So these are the things I like to avoid. I hate having to make modifications in the middle of a demonstration because it kind of ruins the flow. We have such a clean kind of demonstration going on. Make myself available, and we're having a bit of an issue with it right now. So that doesn't happen every day. You can see that we've made ourselves available in the chat queue, but the system hasn't recognized that. So I'm going to try and clear that out. That's weird. It's been a long time since I had an issue with the product on a live demonstration like that. There we go. Same thing, right? Audible noise on the PC, flashing red light on the chat tab, and I can preview some information about this chat. Now, I didn't collect any data, so I don't know much. I know the channel they came in on, the queue, and how long ago they requested the chat. The moment I hit accept, it will let the visitor know the session's been established. It will let the agent know. I'm just seeing the IP address, but if this was hosted on a live domain, you'd see the URL of where they initiated the chat from. So potentially you know the last thing they were looking at. If I conducted a pre-chat survey, maybe I wanted to ask them some questions and answers, that information would pass to the agent when they accepted the chat. From here, it's a pretty straightforward chat client. I'm going to see when the visitor types. Right? The visitor is going to see when the agent is typing back. And the agent maintains all the same functions they have on the voice side. I maintain visibility to other agents. We can chat internally, so if I need to reach out to somebody for help or ask my supervisor a question, I can do it right through the console. If this chat needs to go somewhere else, I can transfer a chat just like I would transfer a phone call. I see how many chatters are waiting. I know what the longest wait time is. I make a chat queue selection, I hit transfer, I let the ACD redistribute. Okay. Here I usually open up the knowledge base. So I'm going to minimize the visitor for a second. And I'm going to open up the knowledge base. And we can take a look at this. So this is where you might have reference information for your agents. You might have chat templates. You might have just product information. So in my example, I have a couple things pre-built. So if I want to send some information to the visitor, I can click on this link to send it in the current chat. And then I'll give them examples of shortcuts. So as you become more familiar with this as an agent, you can just call these up by name without having to navigate to the appropriate knowledge base page. So then I'll give them an example. Let's return our visitor window. In my example, if I type in support, it pre-populates my support greeting, so I don't have to write that out every time. Right? All my greetings and salutations are pre-built. If I want to send someone an 8x8 datasheet, I just type datasheet. The system automatically populates the cover image for the datasheet and a URL to download it. Right?
Oh, never mind. Right where it says insert FAQ.
Yep. You insert a shortcut. You can type free text here. You can insert a shortcut from the knowledge base here. Right? So now you're creating the sort of scripts your agents are going to use. You're also helping them work quicker. They're not typing things out over and over again. Now I can end the chat at any time in case it's a prank. Right? So can the visitor. So if the visitor hits finish, one thing I forgot to show you is if you need a little more real estate as an agent as well, you can double click on this little chat icon and you'll get a resizable screen. Easier to see, might be easier to work with. I don't always point that out, but if somebody asks, hey, I don't like chatting in that little box, well, you know, they have some more real estate this way.
How did you get that pop out?
Double click that little icon and it'll give you the chat as a pop out. Okay.
Can you do that for the other ones, Josh? Transaction, those other little tabs?
You can't, just for the chat window. Yeah. So I always end the chat as the visitor. Let them say when they're done. It'll prompt them to confirm. It'll let the agent know when they've disconnected, and it puts me right in my post-processing period. So now I can do my post-call wrap-up work. I can disposition chats. Now I'll get rid of the visitor page. I'll return to the CRM, and I'll let them know that you can disposition chats, just like you would disposition a phone call. And you can save chats. So I didn't recognize who this visitor was, but let's say I had created a new customer record. And at this point, I like to pull up my record. So there I am. If I want to save this chat, I hit save. It'll automatically create a case. It'll tag it with the time, the date stamp, and a case number, and it deposits the chat transcript right into the case here. Okay. These are the types of things that can be automated in our integrations. We can automatically log the chat in Salesforce with those integrations. And those sort of workflow automations are coming to our case management in the next release of the VCC as well. Okay? So now we've covered internal calls, outbound dials, we've covered web callback, we've given a chat example, and when applicable, and this is probably the least demoed media type, we'll then move into email. So we have to tell them a little bit about what we mean by how we manage email. So typically it's general addresses, right? Info at, sales at, support at. You give us permission to fetch those emails. We run them through an IVR script. So we can do all the same routing rules with email as we can with telephony. There are a couple things unique to email routing, right? We can scan the subject line for keywords. We can route based on senders or recipient's address, things like that. Okay, so I actually have an email that I sent out before the demo, so we see one there, but I'm not actually active in the email queue. So what I'm going to do now is give them an example of an agent changing their queue assignment in real time. I'm going to go to emails. I'm going to put myself in the sales email. I'm going to get offered that email that was waiting, right? Same user experience, audible noise, flashing red light. I preview information about this email address. Do we know who they are? When did they email us and where did they send it to? The moment I accept this email, it's going to pull that email up as a case. Then here I manage it. So if I want to respond to this email, I just click on it here, and I'm presented with the reply to screen. So now I point out a couple key things here. Right? One, every email is managed as a case. So now I can define fields and attributes associated with this email. I can prioritize it. I can categorize it. I can assign it to an individual or group. And then I'll let them know that traditional email functionality is here. Right? So I'll just type my response. Type my response, if I could actually type. Standard email functionality like attaching files. I can leverage the knowledge base for email templates the same way we leveraged it for chat templates. If I click on this notification sub-tab, I could define the reply to or from address. Do I want it to still be the general email address they sent it to, or do I want to personalize it at this point? Do I want to include others or other groups in a CC or a BCC? Okay. And then when I'm ready to send this out, I simply hit send. This email was automatically assigned case number 165. My response became the follow-up, case 165.1, and if you look on the left, you're going to see that we track the thread here. So this becomes the repository for all your email communication. Okay. Email can be a complex thing in our CCM. We're making a lot of design and usability improvements, but until then, you kind of have to show it in a way that makes it elegant, that makes it usable. Okay, so I'm going to end these, and that's my basic agent demonstration. At this point, I don't always cover the sending a notification. I think it's probably the least important part, but if you want to touch on it, you can. You can let them know that we also support one-to-many communication, and Kane gave you a great example, right? You pick a message, you type your message here. You prioritize that message. You can have it pop up on a screen. Do you want it to send it to everyone or just your group? And then you send that notice. And so then now at this point, I like to log out as a basic agent. So I'm going to log out as John Doe. And I'm going to log back in as my supervisor, Jane Doe. Okay, that'll load up. While this loads up, I like to tell them that at first glance, this is going to look very similar, right? And that's because supervisors are really, they're like super agents. They can do everything a basic agent can do. They can take calls. They can be part of escalations or priorities, those sorts of things. They can cherry pick emails out of queues and assign them to individuals. Now you're going to notice that because that message got sent out, I see a solid red light on the Notices tab. I can click on that. I can see who said what. I can see the time and date. I can continue working. If I come back to this tab, it'll now be archived under Old Notices. Okay? So then I'll let them know that supervisors can manipulate their main view a bit. Right? If I just want to see all the different skills I supervise, I can do that. And I can filter by media type. If I just want to see all the different agents I supervise, I can do that. And I can filter by group. Okay? Now the first supervisor-specific screen is the monitoring window. So I'm going to pull that up. And I always keep it next to this. I want it to be clean on my desktop. I want to let them know that there's value in having this window open at all times. And it doesn't have to take away from me using the product with the core agent console here. I don't say all that, but I'm trying to imply it by showing it them this way, right? And I let them know that this is going to give you supervisory information in real time and in interval, both in real time and across certain intervals from an agent and a queue perspective. So if we start from an agent perspective, here are the agents I supervise, and I point out the headers that are important. Here's their current state. Here's how long they've been in it, the phone lines they're in, the last time they logged in, their total time logged in, and their total time on the phone or on transactions. As a supervisor, I can drill into any one of my agents, and I can move them in and out of skills simply by selecting or deselecting them right here. Okay? Interval-based snapshots over the last 30 minutes. How many transactions have they taken? Are they missing or rejecting calls? What's the average length of those calls been? And how have they spent their last half an hour? Right. If I hover over these color-coded bars, it's going to give me the number of minutes they've been in that state. I'll point the same thing out from the beginning of the day, only now I'm going to see that state as a percentage of their total time logged in compared to how long they've been logged in today. And I'll let them know that as you become more familiar with these colors, you can see at a glance what's taking up most of your agent's time. Okay, then I'll move into the queue from a queue perspective, right? Here's all my skill groups and queues broken up by media type. You'll notice real-time headers across the top, and that we can show them their service levels. So at this point, I want to tell them how they define the service level. So you pick your service level, what percentage of calls needs to be answered in what amount of time. You define how frequently does the application check against this, and then who gets notified if you fall below. And I'll let them know that if you fall below, bless you, you can get emails, you can get automated emails with actionable information in them, telling them what SLA was violated and what were the details of the the details of the transaction that led to that violation. Okay?
Hey, so Josh, you know what that looks like to me? That could be a version of a poor man's wallboard.
Really what it is, it's a poor man's dashboard. In most call centers, numbers are great for reporting. You want those too, but you also want dashboards you can manage against. And dashboards give you aggregate information. Call centers don't want to see like pie charts of agent states so they can see resource allocation. They'll want to see, I don't know, trend graphs, volume over hours throughout the day. How does that compare to, you know, volume graphs at previous moments in time? Those types of things. But yes, before we had wallboards, we used to get customers who would buy a seat, put this on a computer, project it on the wall. Same sort of intervals are here, right? How many transactions are entering the contact center? Are you accepting them or are they abandoning you? What are your average wait times? What are your average processing times? How do your service levels hold up? And all the same information from the beginning of the day. Now, two other key areas to point out, and I tell them, there are two other key areas I want to show you when we're here. One of those is audio files, so I can access audio files from a queue perspective or from an agent perspective. You can see I have one agent that I record half their calls, another agent I record 100% of their calls. I see the number of records I have and over what periods of time. I can drill into those agents and I can sort by these headers. So we'll probably most commonly do so by date. Grab the audio file I want, select the call that I need to listen to, and then I can listen to it right here through this embedded player. Okay. If I wanted to save this, review it later, maybe send it to the agent, I hit save. We're going to give it to him as a WAV file, tagged with the agent's name, time, and date stamp. I want to make sure to point out that you don't have to download every audio file individually. Right? You're also going to get access to an FTP secure site, so you can bulk offload everything to your own location for archival. And we're going to give you an index file with all the reference and header information around your call recordings. Something I don't tell them, but that you would like, be good for you to know, is that there's a nice enhancement coming to this in 8.0, where instead of sorting through these headers, you're going to be able to globally search to find. So if you type anything you want, if we find a header match, we're going to return the results, and you can filter the results. And then when you click play to listen to that call, we're going to give you a graphical image of the WAV file, like you might get on a SoundCloud or something, so you can easily navigate to the portions of the call that have conversation. And then, of course, last thing here is the actual ability to monitor. You're going to see when your agents are on chats. You're going to know when they're on the phone. You can log them out remotely. You can, if they were on a phone call, there'd be a monitor button right here, and I'll pretend one is. I'll let the prospect know the same information presented to them is going to be presented to you in the small little preview window. You hit start monitoring. We're going to ring your phone. You pick up, you can listen in. Agent's unaware, caller's unaware. Right? If I want to record this call on demand as a supervisor, I can hit the record button. As I'm listening in, if I want to coach them, I come to chat, select the agent, I can start giving them advice or help or assistance as I listen into that call. Right? If I want to barge in and take over this call, I hit join call and I become an active participant. Now my voice can be heard. When I'm done, I hit finish monitoring, which is grayed out here. This would disconnect and close down. And that's it. So then lastly, I transition into historical reports. And I'll let them know as soon as the transaction is complete, it instantly becomes part of our historical reporting engine. So that's the next area I'm going to go to. I'll hit this report button. This opens up natively in the window. And let's talk a little bit about this. Okay. So I'll let the prospect know that we do a lot of the traditional contact center formulas for you. They've already been done. Abandonment rates, average speed to answer, performance against SLAs. Those are all configured here. And we've put them into about just under 40 predefined templates. So think of these as outlines. And I'll scroll through. And I'm going to pick a really detailed one, like every transaction that entered the contact center. And then I'll let them know that they can define their own light selection criteria. So, you know, which queues do I want to be included, either by media type or by individual name. Which one of my agents need to be included in this report, either by how I've grouped my agents or by individual name. We subtotal the data frequently, so how granularly should we subtotal it? Daily, hourly, 30-minute increments. The options will change depending upon the outline or template they select. And then over what period of time do they need to see this information? Right? I can define a date range with these small drop-down calendars here, or we have some predefined ranges for some pretty common queries. So then I'll tell them what I just built. I want to see every call that entered the contact center across all my skills and agents with daily subtotals for the last 30 days. Now, if you look at the bottom here, this isn't live data just yet, but it will show you all the headers that are going to be included in this report. So I can confirm the data element I need is actually in here before I run this template. When I'm ready, I hit export. We're going to give it to you as an Excel file. I'll hit open. That will run the report in real time. My machine's going to prompt me to confirm I'm comfortable opening this file type. I'll hit yes. There you go. I have it to Excel. Right? Now I do look to Excel for further manipulation. Things like sorting, merging, running macros against this data. People who run reports get that. And I'll point out two key things. One is that we keep their information indefinitely and without storage limits. As long as they're a partner of 8x8, they're always going to have access to their historical transaction data. And key number two, I think we talked about earlier in the week, is that everything I've shown them up to this point, I'm going to pull this out here, is available to them programmatically. Right? So all the real-time information in the agent console, all the real-time information in the supervisor window, they can access for wallboards, for dashboards, for intelligent websites. The historical stats. Right? And I'll let them know, a lot of my customers, they don't want to use the templates. So if they want to work with the metadata, they can extract all their metadata here. They can data warehouse it. They can run it through their own business intelligence tool. They can build and create custom reports. If you have the know-how, great. You can do this without our intervention. If you'd like us to get involved, we have a professional services team that can, fix, bid, and produce statements of work for these items. And that's really it. That's 95% of my demos are that script and this order and this walkthrough. I rarely show the administrative console unless they want to see it. And sometimes they will. And even when I show it, I highlight what I think are the important parts. I highlight an audio library, a schedule library, and then I start in order of 3 objects. These are channels. These are how you build an IVR script. IVR scripts feed into queues. These are your queue options. Queues feed into agents. These are your agent options. And I leave it at that. And I let them know that that's where the majority of their training and implementation is going to focus on. They're going to get a dedicated trainer that's going to walk them through how to be self-sufficient, and they're going to learn on the instance of the application they'll eventually go live on. And then I end. Then I'll say, hey, that's a lot of information we just walked through. I went through it really quickly. Was there something you were hoping to see that I didn't cover? Or, be a little self-deprecating. Was there something I rambled through too quickly that you want to revisit here? They'll tell you yes or no, and that's it, right? We just covered 40 minutes. Tack on your your slide deck presentation and any upfront information, and you can easily fill up an hour. Okay?
You guys have any questions for Josh?
One of my key takeaways from that is when you start in the beginning, just it's preparation, right? So like you said, have everything fine-tuned exactly how you want it. So when you're ready for this portion of the demo, boom, it's right there. When you're ready for that interaction, you're not waiting for it, right? So right on cue, and I think he does a really great job of that. And so it's preparation.
Anything different, confusing from what you guys saw at 11 o'clock today?
Yours is a lot.
Well, it's smoother.
Huh?
You're smoother in the way of presentation.
Okay. Good.
And he didn't cough.
Yeah, I didn't cough.
Josh,
You didn't get you sick, huh?
What's that?
How long